Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Urban Legends video. I just had to talk about this particular urban legend once I read about it, so I hope y'all enjoy it here. I'll definitely get the last Cryptids and Monsters video out soon, so be on the lookout for that. I'll probably get it out on Sunday at the latest on there, so I promise I'll get around to it. But like I was mentioning in another video, once I come across that's something that's so interesting, I just have to share it, and it gets pushed up to the front of the line. And in this case, this particular urban legend, it's one that's been around for over 100 years. I've heard of this legend before, I just didn't look into any further details, but when I came across a website that chronicled some of the top 10 scariest urban legends out there, this one I think is probably the scariest of them all. And in fact, it actually inspired a movie, several movies, you could say, no less, depending on the subject matter on there. And what I'm talking about is the urban legend known as Robert the Doll, which you'll see a picture of here. So some of you may have heard of this particular urban legend. It's one of those things that others have passed it along. It's almost like a word of mouth type deal, but like most people, like myself, we've heard of it, but we just haven't heard the full details of it. So in this case, I'll be able to showcase everything here for you. So enjoy. I think I found it to be one of the most interesting, fascinating urban legends yet. So great stuff to come about. So this all starts more than 100 years ago again. And this particular doll, the first time it was encountered, you could say, was in 1906. So not too long back. We're not talking about something that's a couple centuries old, but it's still definitely back there. And 1906, this doll was given to a family by a Bohemian servant, and apparently she didn't. She worked for the family, but apparently she did not like the family at all. Maybe they treated her bad, maybe they weren't treating her good enough. Whatever that was, in her mind, she wanted to do something quote unquote special for them. And this servant actually apparently was skilled in voodoo and the dark arts, black magic, that kind of stuff. And so she decided that she would definitely make sure that they would remember her, or at least do something to them that would last a long time for the pain that they must have caused her. And what she did was she gave this doll not to the husband, not to the wife, but she gave it to their son. And this son was apparently named Robert Eugene Otto. And actually that's where the name of the doll, Robert the Doll, comes from, because the boy named him after himself. What's interesting though is that the boy, again, his name is Robert Eugene Otto, but he goes by Eugene, which is quite common. A lot of people go by their middle name, but for whatever reason, instead of giving the doll Eugene as the name, he gave it Robert on there. And the doll has been described as follows, and you'll see another picture of it here to give you a size comparison. I mean, it's not that small. I've seen pictures of the doll before, but when I saw this particular picture, it shows how big the doll is. It's much larger actually than the pictures give it credit for. It's probably one of those deals where you go in and you're expecting to see something a lot smaller, and then you see this and you realize, oh my goodness, this is a doll that's quite larger than what I thought. It reminds me real quick of, I saw the statue one time of Iwo Jima there in Washington D.C., and the pictures do not do it justice. It is gigantic. So same example here. In any case, the doll of course has been described as being set after a naval officer or a naval boy, and it has this most distinct feature, which is the white clothes that were given to it. Apparently these are still the original ones. Somebody may have to correct me on this, but apparently these are the clothes that were still on it, including the very noticeable hat. People think apparently that the doll has real human hair, but it's not. It's some kind of synthetic material that resembles wool, and so a lot of it has fallen out though over the past couple of decades. But that's the material that it's made out of, and the rest of the doll is just doll material itself, maybe some cloth, some plastic, that kind of stuff. So with regards to this doll, the doll was given to the boy, and shortly after it was given to him, that's when the boy started to experience some weird circumstances, and he would actually apparently tell his family regarding this circumstance too. He would say that the doll would come to life. It would actually do stuff that no doll should, and in fact, it actually did things that reminded me of the story of Annabelle the doll that happened a couple of decades later. Those of you who have seen in the movie the Annabelle doll, and those of you that have seen the last movie that she was chronicled in, The Conjuring, you'll know what I'm talking about here. But this particular doll, Robert the doll, preceded her by a good number of decades on there. So this is what the boy would say. He would say that he would hear the doll talking to Robert, talking to Eugene. People would apparently pass by the room and they would hear voices inside the room itself. It's not coming from the boy, it's coming from the doll on there, but they could never explicitly find proof of the doll speaking. I guess if it was confronted, like if somebody ran into the room, then either the voices would stop or they would at least temporarily, I guess, happen someplace else. Whatever it was, the circumstances of it, nobody could ever prove that it was coming from a doll, but they highly suspected it on there. And apparently Robert the doll was doing things that was getting the boy in trouble. And the boy was in fact getting in trouble, and he was trying to tell his parents it was the doll was doing it. But of course the parents there would not believe him, and they would completely blame everything on Robert on there. In fact, all of the bad behavior that was usually accredited to the boy Eugene, apparently it actually came from Robert. And this is the creepy stuff though that the doll would do. Neighbors around the house would say that when the family was away, they would, I guess, be doing their usual thing, maybe taking care of the lawn outside, maybe just relaxing in the porch, anything like that. And they would say that they would actually notice Robert the doll moving from window to window in that home, even though nobody was there, even though there's no possible way for the doll to move. They saw the doll moving from window to window. How creepy is that? Doesn't that just make like the hairs on your arm just pretty much stand up? How creepy would that be to see something like that? You're looking at your neighbor's house, and then you see this creepy looking doll just nonchalantly moving from one window to another. You probably know that he knows that you're looking at it, and he doesn't care, and it's freaking you out. And then apparently the doll would also giggle whenever others were there, visiting the home. Maybe they were the neighbors themselves, or maybe they were the friends of the family. Whoever it was, they would apparently hear the doll giggle, and the way it was giggling, it did it in such a way that it scared the bejesus out of the people that were there. And then also apparently the doll would show up in different parts of the room itself, so much so that eventually the family decided to lock it away. I mean, they wanted to place it into one area to know 100% definitively that this doll could not move around there. But how creepy was that? I mean, imagine knowing that you placed this doll inside a bedroom, and then it would pop up in the kitchen, or you placed it in the living room and then you found it back in the bedroom on there. And then other things that people would say that the doll would do is apparently Robert can make his expression change right before people's eyes. So this picture that you see, this plain looking doll, the face on it could apparently change, and not only that, but it could make its eyes blink. I mean, how freaky is that? You're looking at this doll, and all of a sudden it would tilt its head to you, or it would nod yes, or it would even blink at you. And imagine seeing that. I don't know, but if that happens, that's enough for me to just say goodbye completely. Like if I was a friend coming over and say, either you visit my house or that's it, and that's it. That's the breaking point right there. So what happened to the family was Eugene, the boy, grew up with it and kept the doll there. He actually lived in the house, and he kept it there with him all that time. And unfortunately, though, the boy ended up dying in 1974, now a grown man. So he died there in 1974, and the doll was left in the attic. But the tales did not stop there, because a new family moved into that house, and when they did so, they had a 10-year-old girl within the family, and she found the doll right there in the attic. It could be one of those situations where the doll was drawing the girl to him, much like a predestination of sorts, because without anybody paying attention to it, then it probably couldn't be the living entity that it is on there. So this curse again now continued, but it continued to the new owner, the new 10-year-old girl, and she too reported several circumstances. This time, though, they seem to be far worse than what Eugene the boy encountered. This is what she would say. There's no name for this 10-year-old girl, by the way, so apparently she decided to remain as anonymous as possible. But here's what she would say. She said that at night, the doll would follow her, and not only that, but it would move also from room to room. And then one time at night, it even attempted to attack her directly, like the doll was right there, probably on top of her, and it was attacking her on there. That's enough, that's enough to just run away at that point and never come back if you see a doll like this attacking you on there. And even now, the girl is still alive. She's a grown woman now. She's probably an older woman. Even now, to this day, when someone finds her and they're able to interview her, she says that the doll was alive and it wanted to kill her. So what happened to the doll eventually was that in 1994 it was given away to a museum, and this museum still houses the doll to this day. And in fact, you'll see a picture of the museum on here. This museum, in fact, proudly displays it. They use it. They used Robert the doll there. It's become a national almost attraction on there. It's placed the museum on the map, and what it does there is it's displayed, as you can see here, in the glass, and that way anybody that comes by, it essentially is visited by others. People take pictures of it, and that's it. But apparently the stories associated with Robert the doll do not stop there. This museum, which by the way is called the East Martello Museum, the employees there tell tales associated with Robert the doll. They say that apparently Robert turns off the lights sometimes, even though they're left on in the museum. Other times he turns on the lights when they're supposed to be left off on there. Employees there also say that the way that they have him seated in the glass display, the next morning when they come in, he'll actually be sitting in a different position on there. And then on top of that, they'll actually find dust on top of his shoes, as if, and this is so creepy, as if he was crawling on the ground, let's say around parts of the museum there, like he had gotten literally out of the glass display and was inspecting the museum, and then the next morning just went back into the glass display, not caring that the dust and the dirt was still on him from his previous visit, and they found him on there. So quite scary stuff. The visitors, by the way, to the museum, they are apparently told some proper etiquette when it comes to working and taking pictures of Robert the doll. Apparently he is nice enough to people that come visit him, as long as you're nice to him. Apparently the way it goes is, if you're going to take a picture of him, and like take a physical picture of him, as long as you ask him politely, then he will not do anything bad to you. If you don't, if you actually just take the picture of him without his permission on there, then he will apparently curse you. And I have tried to see if there was anybody that had any kind of, let's say, stories associated with that curse, but there hasn't been any on there. But that's the urban legend on that part, that if you don't ask him nicely, he will curse you, and this curse will follow you on there. And also, if you ask him politely enough, he'll tilt his head towards you and saying that yes, whatever you asked him, he is giving you permission on there. And the same thing, apparently it's not taking a picture, but whatever you're asking of him, as long as you ask it nicely, then he's okay with it on there. So pretty freaky stuff. Also, another interesting little fact on that, every single October around the Halloween period, which should be right about now, he's actually moved to a place called the Old Post Office and Custom House, which you'll see a picture of here. And there's a big brouhaha when it comes to moving him around. You'll see a picture of it here where it looks like everybody is making 100% certain that Robert the doll is taken care of. In other words, he's not just shoved into some compartment, shoved into some box, and then carried over. No, he's treated with respect, it seems like, and he's treated with caution because of the tales associated with him. That's what it looks like, at least, looking at that picture there. So the people that are moving him know, again, that when it comes to Robert the doll, if you treat him nicely, then he's not going to do anything bad to you on there. So what do you guys think? Robert the doll, one of the most scariest urban legends. It's scary to me because just the idea of a living haunted doll that somehow is able to follow you, especially something that looks like this. I mean, it's scary on there. And I was talking earlier about the inspirations for from Robert the doll, and you would have to go no further than Chucky to know that Chucky was actually created because it was based on Robert the doll itself. And then also Annabelle the doll, again, it's a real life situation with Annabelle the doll, but the movies associated with Annabelle the doll, besides coming from the inspirations associated with the people that lived and the experience of Annabelle the doll, the movies utilize some of the information from Robert the doll himself and the encounters that some of the people there had with him. So pretty freaky stuff. So alright, thank you as always, everybody. Take care.